Slates, take one. Marker. That goes before. After a long hiatus, I want to start with a video about the most iconic symbol of the film industry, the film slate. You see, when making films, you have to record the visuals using a camera and the audio using a microphone, and that will be separate. For documentaries or for field recording, you usually have both in one, so the camera has a mic attached to it and you don't have to worry about it. But when making films, you want to have two separate systems, one recording visual and one recording audio. The slate is a slab of plastic or blackboard used to identify what you're currently shooting. It does three things at once: a visual cue, an audio cue, and a written description of the shot. So afterwards, in your editing software, you put them together to synchronize video and audio. A slate gives you key information about what you're shooting. So let's break it down from the top to the bottom. Slates can have different shapes, sizes, and areas in which to write, but they all have a few things in common. On top is where you write the production's title. This is the title of your movie. You can write the title of the actual movie and what's going to be called, or a working title. Next, you have three empty squares. I took the titles off of my slate to make it cleaner, but these are for roll, scene, and take. Roll used to be the literal roll of film. Rolls of film had labels on them. They came from the factory, and you would basically say, this roll is being shot at this moment. So the roll will be like a series of letters and numbers that came with the actual film. Nowadays we shoot digital, so we write the current media that we're in and a label for camera. In the first media that you use in the camera right when you start shooting, you will label, for example, if this is A-cam, you will label it A001. From then on, every time you switch media, you go one number up. So it will become A002, 3, 4, etc. until the end of your film. This changes every time you change the media, not necessarily every day, but every time you change the card. If you have another camera that is not A-cam, it's called B-cam, you'll write B001 for that media. So then when you're dumping files, you know which files go in which camera. That's what roll is for. Scene and take are very self-explanatory. You remember when we were labeling scenes back in my other two videos? This is what scene you're currently shooting right now. You can label your scenes however you want. It can be numbers, it can be letters, it can be a combination, or it usually is a combination of letters and numbers. So you clearly write here, let's say 12A, for example. So you write a big 12 and an A. Take is the number of takes that a scene has shot so far. It is a time between when you say action and cut. How many times you say action and cut is the number of takes you have for that scene. So let's say you had to do the scene 5 times. You would write takes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 for each individual take as you're slating and shooting them. Underneath this, you have more additional details where you can write stuff just to label and to be more organized with the shots. You have fields for director and camera. The director and the camera usually don't change. Camera maybe, but director usually doesn't change. So you would have the name of the director and the name of the cinematographer goes here. Underneath you have a spot for date. You will write the date that you're currently shooting. And then you have 3 boxes for interior or exterior, night or day, or MOS or sync. Interior, exterior, if you're shooting interior, you write interior or exterior. Same with night or day. Sync and MOS, if it says sync, it means that you're shooting, there's an audio file that goes with this camera file. But if it says MOS, it means that there's only a camera file, meaning that there's no audio to sync to when you're shooting MOS. So the editor visually knows that there's no audio to go with it. You put your fingers in between the sticks, so now they know, like, oh, they're not gonna clap it. This is intentional. Having the fingers here is intentional, so they're not gonna clap it. This means there's no audio, but there will be labels and stuff here. Now you know what the slate is for. I'm gonna teach you how to use it. There are 2 ways to slate your shots properly. One that is used when shooting film or to save media space, and the second one when media space is not an issue, when everybody's ready for the take. Second assistant camera or clapper stands in front of the camera with the slate. The slate must fill the frame. Then sound begins recording, and the sound person must clearly say,
sound speed.
Now the second AC reads the scene and take number.
Scene 1 Delta, take 4.
The camera starts rolling, and the operator clearly says,
Current speed.
Now the second AC says,
Mark.
and closes the sticks, making sure the camera sees the sticks close completely. Now the visuals are slated, and the second AC retires the slate from the frame. Notice that sound started recording before camera. This is because sound files take up less space and are less expensive than camera to record. Cameras right now shoot at 12K. You know, they shoot at huge resolutions and take up a bunch of space. So In order to save on space, we try to record as least as possible what's not important, and having a bunch of headroom in the shot before the scene even starts, it is a waste of media and it adds up at the end of the day. And you know, more media means more money, it's hard to come by. But in the case that media space is not an issue, then the second AC stands in front of the camera, filling the frame with the slate. The sound and camera begin recording. Then the second AC calls the scene number, take number, marker, closes the sticks. Why do you say marker? There could be anything that sounds like, that creates a spike in the sound. You know, it could be like somebody stepping really hard on the floor, something falling over. But when you say marker and make the sound, it is identifiably the sound that you have to synchronize your camera to. Bad slates cause very unpleasant issues down the line. You know, the marker ran dry, you weren't using the right thing, you weren't slating properly, there was a lot of sound, a lot of people distracted on set. Then your editor is gonna take an extra few hours to organize the mess that you made on set. Now I'm gonna give you some tips to slate like a champ. Always make sure the slate is the first frame of every shot. This way the editor can quickly tell what shot he's looking at when he's organizing the files later. If you want to stand at the correct spot to slate, always ask the operator what lens they're on. If they say 50, then stand 5 feet away from the camera. 24, you stand 2.4 feet away from camera. 85, you stand 8.5 feet away from camera. This trick guarantees that your slate fills the frame properly every time. Note, this only works on a super 35mm sensor. If you're shooting on a full frame sensor, you just have to stand a little bit closer. So let's say, they're shooting on a 50, you stand 4 feet away. After calling the take number and saying marker, slide your fingers right through the take number. This lets you know that that was the last take you shot. If you leave the number as it is, or erase it, you might forget if you already changed the number or what number you were on. You want to make sure that what you're slating is the right take and number. If the slate is too big and the lens is too tight, you can make a tiny slate on the back where you can at least feel the scene take and number. Always make sure the camera will see the sticks closed. This is the only way the camera really knows that that's the point to synchronize the audio files to. When dealing with actors and slates, it is important to know these things are very freaking loud. So whenever you're up in the face with an actor, you very gently close the sticks, but you let the editor know that you're doing that. So instead of saying marker, you would say soft sticks. And then very gently you close the sticks. Let's say you fumble the sticks, you dropped the slate or something happened, so sound happened after you said marker. If you want to refresh what you were doing, you would put the slate back up, filling up the frame, and you would say second sticks and slate again. Then you write it on the camera report that you did second sticks. That way when the editor is looking at the camera report, they know the first spike in sound is not the correct one. And that's it for slating. It is a simple topic, but it is very important. The slate is the only thing that is really connecting the camera, sound, and editing department together. Let me know if you like this video. I read all your comments. I comment on most of them. It makes me happy to see that people are doing great. It makes me happy to see that people are using the resources that I made. I see a bunch of people always request to edit my Google Drive shot list. Copy it. Put it on your own Google Drive, because if I give you access, then you edit the original file and then nobody else can use it. If you guys have anything in mind that you would like to know more, please leave it down in the comments below. I'll try to make a video about anything that I know about. So thank you, and I'll see you next time.